What's up, guys? Jeff here with Grit City Fitness and Performance, and today I'm going to be answering one of my most common questions, and that's how to lay out a day of nutrition. This question really comes down to how should I be eating throughout the day for optimal results for fat loss and body transformation. And really there's only three main concepts in here that make this what it is. Okay? The first is consuming ample protein. One of the most underutilized macronutrients for most people in their diet, especially when they're trying to lose fat, is protein consumption. Now, if you're a bodybuilder, you already know you're consuming plenty of protein, but on any other sense of nutrition, most people are under consuming protein. So one of our main goals is to consume ample amount of protein 4 to 6 times per day. For this, I utilize a system called the 4x30 for smaller females, and then a 4x40 or more for a little bit bigger females or males. Basically, the goal with our protein consumption is to be matching about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if I'm a 200-pound male, I'm looking for about 100 grams or 200 grams of protein per day. Now, with that, I'm trying to get, so I already have my ample amount of protein, consuming 200 grams. My goal now is to spread that out between 4 to 6 times per day. This is up to you on how you do this. So if you want to be someone that only eats 4 meals a day, that's fine. If you want to consume 3 main meals a day and then a couple protein meals per day, that's fine as well. It's really up to you. So how I'm going to lay out, if you guys notice towards the bottom of this, I do lay out a morning and nighttime day based on kind of how you train. So I'll go over that in a second. But I recommend between 4 to 6 meals per day of protein. So you can do 3 main meals with, proteins, fats, and carbs, and then 3 main meals of just protein, which I don't necessarily recommend that. However, again, I'll show you towards the bottom. After we hit the priority number 1, which is consuming ample protein 4 to 6 times per day, we're looking at consuming our carbs before and after workout. The main reasons we want to consume our carbohydrates before and after workout is because after we work out, our body is depleted of glycogen. Consuming carbohydrates replenishes and kind of helps repair that drainage of glycogen and helps you recover and replenish the body better. Also, by consuming carbohydrates pre-workout, you actually allow yourself to have a little bit of glycogen storage or a little bit of glycogen buildup to use as energy and fuel during your workout. So again, I'll cover that towards the middle of explaining how a day should be laid out. So we're looking at consuming our primary carbohydrates. When I say carbohydrates, this means anything that's a starchy carb. Things like pastas, breads, if you want to eat pizza, cookies, whatever, rice, that sort of stuff. That's going to be considered my carbohydrates consumed before and after workout. From there, our third Nutrition Made Easy tip is going to be consuming fats away from your workout. So if I work out in the morning, I'm going to be consuming a majority of my fats in the afternoon or night. If I work out at nighttime, I'm going to be consuming a primary amount of my fats in the morning. So I'm trying to use them as opposite timings. The reason for this timing adjustment is because fats are almost a blocker. They slow down the absorption of proteins and carbs, so you want to be utilizing it properly to where it either helps you kind of feed your body throughout the day. So that's why we use it in the morning going into our workout, or in the opposite timing of our workout to basically slow down the absorption and breakdown of our proteins and carbs. All right. Otherwise, if we're utilizing a fat before workout, after workout, we're slowing down the ability for the body to digest and utilize the proteins and carbs in the most optimal and effective way for body transformation. All right. So those are our 3 main tips. Now, laying this out, I have 2 different versions of a day. I have a morning workout and I have a night workout. How this is going to be laid out for most people is, while I have this laid out as a 6 meal per day, this is just so that way we can see how much protein we're taking in on a daily basis. Again, I would recommend going more on the upper end of the protein, spacing that out about every 2 to 4 hours. That way you get a kind of a constant flow throughout the day. Carbohydrates and fats are different. They're going to be utilized about 2 to 3 times per day in meals. So if we're looking at a morning workout would mean that I'm working out anywhere between 6 a.m. to noon. Okay. The adjustment might be a little bit different. I have this set up as more of an 8 a.m. workout. So this could be like a 6 a.m. workout with you waking up at 5, whatever works for you, but this is just going to be saying I'm utilizing one meal prior. So for a morning workout, what I'd be recommending here is you're going to take carbohydrates and protein pre-workout. So if I work out at 6 a.m., I'm going to be trying to consume carbohydrates and protein at 5 a.m. I'm going to be taking in, so going back to our Nutrition Made Easy tip number 1, consuming protein 4 to 6 times a day. If I'm going to be consuming 6 meals a day, all I'm going to be thinking about here is dividing my 6 meals a day by my total grams of protein that I need to be consuming. So in my case, let's say it's 200 divided by 6, we're looking at about 25 grams of protein per meal for 6 meals. Okay, so very easy amount of calories or grams of protein to make successful. So what I'd be looking at here for the morning is taking about 20% of my daily carb intake, as well as about 25 grams of protein. All right, so let's say my daily carbohydrate intake is 100 grams, just to make it easy for myself. I would be taking 20 grams of carbohydrates and about 25 grams of protein. Then, about an hour later, I would go into my workout. I would work out nice and hard. I'd push myself, do all the things that you're supposed to during your workout and training. Following your workout, while they do say there's a window for nutrition, I don't necessarily say yes, no, but I do want to try and consume my carbohydrates post-workout. This, you should be looking for about an hour to anywhere between right after your workout to about 2-hour window. In this window, we're going to be consuming about 60% of our daily calories for our carbohydrates, and again, about 25 grams of protein. So I'd work out, I'd now consume 60 grams of carbohydrates, and about another 25 grams of protein following my workout within a 1 minute to 2 hour block post-workout. After that, I would go into my third meal. For some people, their third meal might just be a protein shake, because we're looking for about 25 grams of protein again, and we have about 10% of our daily calories, carbohydrates left, or we're going to be using about 10% of our carb intake, so we have 10 grams of carbs, and then we're only going to be utilizing about 10% of our daily fat intake as well. So again, let's say we have 100 grams of daily fat intake that we're looking for. Now, these numbers are completely skewed. I'm just using them for basic understanding. But let's say I, again, have 100 grams of fat that I need to eat on a daily basis. My third meal would consist of 10 grams of carbs, 10 grams of fat, and 25 grams of protein. So again, my protein is staying even throughout the day. Now, I'll cover this at the end, but you can make adjustments inside this, okay? So from there, our fourth meal would be looking at something more of a protein base with 25 grams of protein. Our fat is now going to be about 40% of our daily fat intake. It could be anywhere between 20 to 40% though. So I'd be taking about 20 grams to 40 grams of fat. I'd then be consuming the remainder of my carbohydrates for the day, which would be another 10 grams. That's giving me my 100 total grams of carbohydrates in my first 4 meals. And now I'm consuming 40 grams of fat and 25 grams of protein. Now, the reason, again, we're using the fat here is because it's going to now start slowing down our digestion. It's going to start slowing down the absorption. Now that we've utilized it properly pre and post workout, we can now start to slow the process down so our body can utilize it a little bit more effectively long term. We're not going to be as hungry. It's going to help satiety, so basically the fullness that we might feel, and help kind of prolong the digestion process. From here, our fifth meal can be something just nice and easy. Either anywhere between 30 to 50% of your daily fat intake can be consumed here. I would probably recommend my fifth meal just being something protein heavy. So that might be a protein shake. So we're taking just another 25 grams of protein. Then we're going to finish with our last meal of the day being protein and fat. So while it does say 20% down here, you could have anywhere between 20 to 50% of your daily fat intake with protein pre-bed. So what I'm looking for at the very last meal of the day here is to utilize my fat to slow down the protein digestion while I'm sleeping. So my body is utilizing it while we sleep. All right, that's the reason for stacking the fat towards the end of the day when we work out in the morning. Then when we wake up in the morning again, we'd start all over again with our carbs and protein. All right, so now let's take it to a nighttime training session. A nighttime training session, I'm going to say, is going to be about 5 o'clock. All right, 5 o'clock. We could have a nighttime training session anywhere between 3 to 7, though, depending on you and your schedule. So a nighttime training session would look something like this. We'd be, again, utilizing 200. So going back to our numbers, we're going to be consuming 100 grams of protein, or not 100 grams, or 100 grams of carbs, 100 grams of fat, and 200 grams of protein, just to make my numbers a little easier. So to start the day off, I would consume 25 grams of protein, and I'd consume anywhere between 30 to 50% of my daily fat intake. That's going to give me about 30 to 50 grams of of fat first thing in the morning. So that might be something like an omelet with some veggies, avocado, and yolks. That's going to give us healthy fats and help us increase the fat intake between 30 to 50% of our daily fat intake right off the get-go. From there, our second meal of the day is going to be, again, protein, 25 grams of protein with between 30 to 50% of your fat intake. So this is basically going to be dependent on how I utilize my fats first thing in the morning. If I don't use as many, if I only use 30% of my fat for my first meal, my second meal might consist of up to 50. Okay. Now I'm not taking 100% total between my first two meals. I'm going to try and stack them out just a little bit more. But I'm going to consume 25 grams of protein because that's divided by 6. And then I'm going to be consuming 30 to 50% of my daily fat intake. From there, third meal, we're going to be consuming, again, proteins and fats. Now, at this point, we don't have a lot of fats left, so we're going to only be utilizing about 10% of our fat intake with protein. So what this might be is something like a protein shake and a handful of nuts. That will give me my adequate amount of fat as well as some protein from both the protein shake and the nuts. From there, my fourth meal, we're going to be looking at this pre-workout. So this is going to be something that's going to be a little bit more carb heavy. We're going to again be taking 25 grams of protein and about 20% of our daily carb intake. Just like in the morning, all we did was switch the carb intake to later in the afternoon to allow us better utilization for our workouts. We take 20% of our carbs with protein. So this might be something like Greek yogurt and protein powder. Might be a sandwich, maybe like a chicken fillet sandwich, or not chicken fillet sandwich, but maybe 5 to 6 ounces of chicken with some bread, right? So a sandwich made in that fashion. From there, we perform our workout in between this meal setting. So following that protein and carbs, we then consume proteins and carbs again. So at this point, we're taking about 60% of our daily carbohydrate intake with, again, 25 grams of protein. At this point, I would be utilizing something more on the heavier base of our starch carbs. So this would be something like breads, pastas. You'd be taking a good amount of this quantity, maybe like a cup full of rice, white rice. From there, our sixth and final meal is going to consist of all 3 macronutrients, so proteins, fats, and carbs. We're going to be taking 25 grams of protein, whatever we have left for our carbs, which is probably going to be about 10%, and then about 10% or whatever's left of our fats pre-bed. This again is going to help us digest and process slowly while we sleep, and you wake up a little bit more full so we're not starving, as well as allowing our body to utilize it while we sleep better. So this is how I recommend making your nutrition simple to optimize your day for best results. So again, going back to the basically priorities here, we're consuming an ample amount of protein 4 to 6 times per day. This is again up to you. I would go more on the about 6 if I could, with protein shakes and utilizing it that way. From there, tip number 2 is consuming your carbs before and after workouts for better absorption, better energy levels, better training, as well as better recovery and utilization of carbohydrates to replenish glycogen. From there, my third piece of advice is consuming fats away from your workouts as far away as possible to help slow down the digestion process and slow down the absorption process of your nutrients that you are consuming the remainder or the start of the day. Hopefully this is easy for you to implement. You can utilize this with however you want to eat. This didn't really talk about your numbers at all, but this is how I would lay out a normal day of eating for optimal results around your daily macronutrient breakdowns. All right, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below, and I'll get those answered for you.